Solving equations is a large topic on the exam, but there are just two techniques you need to learn. They sound silly, they're float and ping and escalator, but if you can master these two techniques, you can solve any equation. We're going to start looking at the first technique, float and ping. When we're solving an equation, what we're actually trying to do is get the x on its own. So to solve an equation, we need to look what's with the x. It's plus 3, and I'm going to put a bubble around it. Now, using the technique of float and ping, the plus 3 floats over the equal sign. When it gets over the equal sign, you'll hear a pinging sound, and that's the plus pinging to a minus. So I've now got x equals 12 minus 3. To solve the equation, I work that out, and 12 minus 3 is 9. On this one, I'm trying to get the x on its own, so I put a bubble around the minus 5. It floats over the equal sign, and when it goes over the sign, you'll hear a pinging sound. That's the minus 5 pinging to a plus 5. So I've got x equals 13 plus 5. To solve the equation, work this out, and that's 18. This one looks a little bit different, but you're still going to use the same technique. We're getting the x on its own, so the plus 4 has a bubble round it. It's going to float over the equal sign. The plus 4 will ping to a minus 4. You've got two options here. You can either drop it after the 13 or in front of the 13. If I drop it in front of the 13, I've got minus 4 plus 13 equals x. And if I work that out, minus 4 plus 13 is 9. On this one, get the x on its own. I've got a 2 to move. Now it's actually a plus 2. So when I float it, it's going to become minus 2. I can either drop it after the 7 or in front of the 7. So I'm going to have minus 2 plus 7 equals x. And minus 2 plus 7 gives me 5. We're now going to look at the second technique, and this technique is called escalator. If we look at these questions, you can see there are no pluses or minuses, so we can't use the technique of float and ping. To use the technique of escalator, we look what's with the x, and that is a 5. It needs to go down the escalator, so it's going to go underneath the 10. So we've got x equals 10 over 5. Now this line over means divide, so 10 divided by 5 gives me 2. On this one, the 2 is underneath the x, so it needs to go up the escalator, and it's going to be next to the 7. Now, when it's next to the 7, it's actually times. So I've got 7 times 2, which is 14. This question looks more complicated, but we're just going to do 2 escalators. The 3 is going to go up the escalator, leaving me with the 2x equals 4 times 3, remember, that's 12. Now the 2 is going to go down the escalator, which gives me 12 divided by 2, which is 6. Same on this one, we've got 2 escalators, so we're going to take the 2 up the escalator first of all, which leaves me with 5x, 10 times 2 is 20. Now for my second escalator, the 5 goes down, so I've got x equals 20 divided by 5, which is 4. This is a more difficult type of equation, and this is the sort that you will usually get on an exam. What we need to do is combine float and ping and escalator, and we always do float and ping first. So if I look at this equation, my float and ping bit is the plus 1. So I'm going to put a bubble around the plus 1, float it over the equal sign, it will change to a minus 1. So I've got 2x equals 9 minus 1, and at that stage, that gives me 8. Now I've done my float and ping, I need to do escalator. The 2 is going to go down the escalator, so I've got x equals 8 over 2, and if I work that out, 8 divided by 2 is 4. Here's a question just like the last one for you to have a go at. Press pause, and when you're ready to see me go through it, press play again. So we start with float and ping. The floating ping bit is the -7. That floats over the equal sign and pings to +7. So I've got 3x equals 14 plus 7. And if I work that bit out, it gives me 21. That's the first stage complete. I now need to do escalator. The 3 goes down the escalator. So I've got x equals 21 over 3. And 21 divided by 3 gives me 7. So x equals 7. We'll do this question together. Look at it carefully. Have we got any floating ping? Yes, we have here, this -1. So I'm going to put a bubble around it, float it over the equal sign, and it's going to become +1. So I've got x over 5 equals 7 plus 1. And if I work that bit out, it's 8. Now look at escalator. This 5 here needs to go up the escalator. So I've got x equals 8 times 5 because it's gone up the escalator. 8 times 5 is 40. This question looks different to all the others, but we're going to make it look the same by expanding the bracket. To review expanding brackets, please see clip number 58. Everything inside the bracket needs to be multiplied by 2. So I'm going to do 2 times 3x, which is 6x, and 2 times 4, which is 8. I've now got a question that looks like the ones we've just been doing. We've got a floating ping and we've got an escalator. So floating ping the +8, it becomes -8. So I've got 6x equals 38 minus 8 will give me 30. Then escalator, the 6 goes down the escalator. So I've got x equals 30 divided by 6, which gives me 5. Here are some questions for you to try. Press pause, and when you're ready to go through the answers, press play to see them. So on this question, we use escalator. 2 goes down the escalator. X equals 8 over 2, which is 4. Escalator on this one, the 3 is going to go down the escalator. X equals 15 over 3, which is 5. Escalator on this one, the 2 is going to go down the escalator. X equals 9 over 2, which is going to give me 4.5. On this one, we've got a 3 going up the escalator. So x equals 10 times 3, which is 30. Here, we've got a combination. So the -3 is going to float and ping first of all, which gives me 4x equals 7 plus 3, which is 10. Then 4 is going to go down the escalator. So we've got 10 over 4, which is 2.5. Another combination, we've got float and ping first. So the -4 is going to float and ping and become +4. 1 plus 4 is 5. And then we've got 2 to go down the escalator. So x is 5 over 2, which is 2.5. Here are some more difficult ones for you to try. Press pause, and when you're ready to see the answers, press play again. So on this question, we need to multiply out the brackets first. 2 times 3x is 6x, and 2 times 1 is 2. Then we're going to float and ping the +2. It's going to become -2, so we've got 6x equals 32 minus 2 is 30. Then the 6 is going to go down the escalator, so we've got x equals 30 over 6, which gives me 5. On this question, look for float and ping first. We've got a float and ping here, -10 is going to become +10. So I've got 5x over 2 equals 15 plus 10, which is 25. Then we're on to escalator. To start, the 2 is going to go up the escalator. So we've got 5x equals 25 times 2, which is 50. Then the 5 is going to go down the escalator. So we've got x equals 50 over 5, which is 10. This is the final type of question, and it's worth more marks on the exam. Can you see what the difference is here? The difference is that we've got x on both sides of the equal sign. When you've got a question like this, you always use the following technique. You need to ask yourself, where are the most x's, on the left or on the right? In this question, the most x's are on the left. This means that the other x's need to float and ping to the left, and the numbers need to float and ping to the right, like this. That's a plus x, and it needs to float and ping to the left. And that's a plus 1, and it needs to float and ping to the right. I've now still got the 3x here, but the plus 1 has gone, and I've now got the plus x, which has float and pinged, so it's minus x. I've still got the equal sign, and I've still got the plus 9, but I've now got the plus 1, which is float and pinged, so it's minus 1. Now, 3x minus x is 2x. 9 minus 1 is 8. This looks like the sort of question I'm now really good at. It's an escalator question. The 2 is going to go down the escalator. So I've got x equals 8 over 2, which is 4. Now, if we look at this question, the most x's are on the right. So the x's need to float and ping to the right, and the numbers need to float and ping to the left. So that's a plus 2x, and that needs to float and ping to the right. And that's a minus 13, and that needs to float and ping to the left. So over here, I've got the minus 13, which is now a plus 13, minus 1. I've got the equals. I've still got the 5x, but I've now also got a plus 2x, which is float and pinged and become minus 2x. So I've got 13 minus 1, which is 12, 5x minus 2x, which is 3x. And I'm now at a question that I'm good at again. I've got an escalator. So the 3 is going to go down the escalator. 12 over 3 gives me 4, and that equals x. Here's one of those for you to try. Press pause, and when you're ready to see the answer, press play. Say to yourself, where are the most x's? They're on the left. So the x's need to float and ping to the left, and the numbers need to float and ping to the right. This gives me 7x. That's a plus 5x, so it's going to become minus 5x when it float and pings. And this minus 6 is still here, but I've now got plus 3, which float and pings to become minus 3. 7x minus 5x is 2x. Minus 6 minus 3 is minus 9. Now the 2 goes down the escalator, so I've got x equals minus 9 over 2, which is minus 4.5. Here are 2 more questions for you to try. Press pause, and once you've done them, press play to see the answers. And here are the answers.